4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello out there. Good morning and welcome to Underground Flavas, where we have a full studio of people on from California, from the city and counties of St. Louis, from just all over. So we're going to get this show started. Give me 1 second to bring our guest up on the show. So thank you to everyone who is taking their time. Let me see. Hello, everyone. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fabulous. We are in the studio. We still have more people on. We have people on the phone. We have people on the show. And I just want to thank everyone who is logged in today. How's the weather out there in California?
It's pretty good. It's a little cloudy today, but overall we're getting some good warm weather.
Awesome. Still a little hectic right now. Give me 1 second. Miss Miriam, grab your microphone and bring it to you. Good morning, Miss Trisha Martin.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you, Miss Beautiful Red Hawk? Can y'all see us in the studio?
I see the bottom of your dreads.
The bottom of my dreads. All right, I'm gonna have Justin come out and adjust the video camera so y'all can definitely get a good screening of us. And I want to thank everyone today for definitely taking the time to be a part of Underground Flavas. And we are going to get started with introductions first. So we're going to start with the people on the Zoom link. And then I will allow the people on the phone to introduce themselves as well. So, Miss Beautiful Miriam Mata, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Miriam. I work on partnerships and operations at Perch Credit.
And Mr. Michael Broughton.
Hey everyone, this is Mike. I'm the CEO of Perch. Nice to see everyone.
Miss Trisha Martin.
Again, good morning, everyone. I'm Trisha Martin, also known as Coach Red Hawk, spiritual therapist and all things spiritual.
And Miss Brenda Nelson.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and proud, baby.
Okay, hi, my name is Brenda Nelson. I'm a friend of Miss Marion Hallie. I'm here to support her.
And the beautiful Miss Marion Hallie, who was in studio. Grab that mic and bring it to you and speak into it.
Can you hear me now?
No, bring it all the way to you, sweetie.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little bit.
Okay, this is Marion Hallie. I appreciate everybody introducing themselves. I'm very happy to see I'm having a group of people that are supporting me. I am so devastated with all this craziness that's going on. I've been here for 16 years at Kenilwood Apartments. I've been paying my rent on a daily basis. In fact, it's for 10 years it came directly out of my account.
Just an introduction.
Oh, thank you.
We're gonna get into you.
Okay.
And we have the people on the phone. Let's see if we can get.
And I am the niece of Miss Marion Hallie.
Hello, and my name is Gus Hallie. I'm Mary's older brother.
Awesome. And so we have a few people.
Here in St. Louis, here in Boston, Missouri.
And so today's topic, I have brought along many people to talk and have a discussion of how illegal evictions can ultimately affect credit. And so many people are suffering in the inner cities and just all over with credit. And so we brought CEO Michael Broughton of Perch Credit to the show. And we have beautiful Miriam Mata. Do I say that right? Mata or Mata?
It's meta.
Mata. I love that. Here to talk about Perch Credit. And so we have a few more people that will be joining the show. And the idea is to really bring to the forefront of people who have credit ruined. They may be like a Miss Marion Halley and some of the other tenants that will be here later on, of going through an illegal eviction and having not only what you went through the courts and the illegal eviction and living in the property, but now is haunting you on your credit report. So I will open up with Perch. I know y'all have a way of doing this, so I'm not for sure which one I introduce first. I'll start with the woman, Miss Miriam Mata, and then I will lead in with the CEO. I know that's a little backwards, but
Sure. So at Perch, we have two main products. They're both free because we really believe that people shouldn't go into debt when they're already struggling with their credit, because oftentimes debt is the reason that they're struggling with their credit in the first place. Those products are rent reporting and subscriptions reporting. Rent reporting, we can do up to 24 months back, and that can really have a drastic impact on one's credit score. And subscriptions reporting, we have a debit card so that it doesn't do a hard inquiry like a credit card does. And you just use that for your subscriptions, and we report those payments to the credit bureaus.
now many of us need help with our credit scores and reports. This is an awesome program that you're offering, and we are so grateful. Mr. Michael Broughton?
Yeah, I think Marion handled it pretty well. We have two core products, and we really are all about the impact that we can provide to the world. The story really started when I was having personal difficulty coming into college. I came from a pretty low income family, furthermore, a family of nine, and we really didn't have the tools needed to help finance my personal way through college. It was then that I kind of realized just not only the importance of financial access, but the importance of just having the right tools, from your credit to your financial wellness, um, to a community also that has the same tools, that can really create a better economy for a lot of people. So yeah, me, Mary, and the entire team is super passionate about fixing this credit gap in the U.S. And really excited to be here on the podcast to talk more about the issue.
And I'm really grateful that you guys took your time, to be here in the meetings that we've had, behind the scenes. And I think that is an awesome opportunity for the community. And I've definitely gotten some feedback on people who has already downloaded the app. Matter of fact, that Trisha Martin, Miss Trisha Martin,
Yes.
will you tell everyone? Come on in, everyone. Have a seat. Grab a microphone. You know how I go. We have Miss Rosa McGee here.
Good morning.
Tell Mr. Broughton and Miss Mata about you downloading and getting started with Perch.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you fully. What was that question or statement?
Have you downloaded the Perch app yet?
Oh, yes, I have. I downloaded it and it has me in some type of queue. I'm like number 26 in that.
And the beautiful Trisha Martin was the lady who helped me with the clubhouse meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago. So I want to introduce Miss Trisha Martin to Mr. Michael Broughton and Miss Miriam Mata.
Hey, y'all.
All right, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey,
Thank you so
Nina.
much.
And you said you're in a. Oh, sorry.
Using the app. I'm sorry. We're talking over each other. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say you said you were in a queue.
Yeah. Gosh, hold on. Let me find my phone so I can see what I'm talking about and name it properly. Let's see here. Clicking on Perch. Let's see. A cohort. COHORT. Which is a group of people who signed up for the Perch app around the same time. So I'm in group 26, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds
That's
about right.
seven now.
Yeah, and we're currently on number 7. We to make sure that everyone really has like a 5-star experience with the app. we're very granular with our onboarding. Like, we prefer to text everyone one on one, have someone always, just there and available if there's any questions. But furthermore, being a startup, we had a lot of interest over these past couple weeks, and we wanted to make sure that there's no crazy things that happen that we can't catch beforehand. So, yeah, we'll definitely get you in soon. 26 is not too far. And we're updating the cohorts about every 2 to 3 days. And you'll get a text update each time we update the cohorts.
Wonderful, which I did get. I got a text and they were saying something about if I don't want to get texts, but I want to continue getting texts just so I can follow, you guys' progress and everything.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Now, Miss Trisha Redhawk does her spiritual cleanse to get the show started. And the idea is when she does the cleanse, we're all, most of us anyway, can't speak for all, is walking around with something that is heavy on our hearts. And so the idea is when she does the cleanse, it's a semblance of how we need to cleanse ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. So I'm going to let Miss Redhawk do her spiritual cleanse, and then we'll get back into the show.
Thank you. I thought maybe I was going to do it afterwards, but yes, we do the energy cleanse before the show just so we can unload and blow away the week's stresses and messes and all that jazz. So I like to tell folks to imagine themselves standing in front of a giant dumpster, just dumping not even just the week away, but their whole lives up to this point. A lot of us are carrying not just the weight of debt, but the weight of all kinds of stuff. So let's just get into it because I'm about to get emotional right now, and I'm not trying to do that. But anyway, I tell you guys to put your hands up in the air, and we wave them like we just don't care. We gotta let all that energy know that it's got to go. It's gotta go. So again, imagine yourself standing in front of a giant dumpster. I'm gonna give y'all, I don't know, about 2 seconds. 2 seconds to dump, and because this is like the very quick version, just dump all of your cares into this dumpster, and then we're gonna take 3 deep breaths before and 3 deep breaths after the affirmation / prayer. So when you guys are really ready to dump, just say ready, ready. All right, I'm gonna give y'all as much time as y'all need, but yeah, just say ready, ready, and then we can begin.
Ready.
Oh wow, that was quick. All right. All right, y'all, let's take our first deep breath. We breathe in through our nose and out of our mouths on the count of 3. Let's take our first breath. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Breathe in and blow out. Breathe in and blow out. Again, breathe in and blow out. Repeat after me.
Universe.
I am ready to be made whole again.
I am ready to be made whole again. Universe.
I consciously open myself to release.
I consciously open myself to release. Universe.
Today I become reborn.
Today I become reborn.
Today I redirect my thoughts.
Today I redirect my thoughts.
My energy.
My energy. My everything.
Onto a progressive.
Positive path.
I release all negative feelings.
I leave all negative feelings
Associated with every negative situation. That I have encountered in this life. In that life. and that other life.
and that other life.
I give it all back to you.
I give it all back to
Give it
you.
all back to you.
I call into existence
I call into existence
peace,
Peace.
peace,
joy,
joy,
love,
love,
Love.
trust,
trust,
respect,
respect,
Respect.
honor,
honor,
courage,
courage,
confidence,
confidence,
Confidence.
compassion,
compassion,
support,
support,
strength,
strength,
patience,
patience,
protection,
protection,
guidance,
guidance,
understanding,
understanding,
forgiveness,
forgiveness,
emotional,
emotional,
mental,
mental,
spiritual,
spiritual,
and physical healing,
and physical healing,
abundance
abundance
Abundance.
in every area of my life,
in every
In every
area
area
of
of
my
my
life,
and a clear thought process.
in a clear conscience.
And a clear conscience.
I thank you in advance
I thank you in advance
for recognizing all of my needs,
for
For
recognizing all of my
recognizing
needs.
all my needs.
and taking me on this new journey,
For taking me on this new journey,
one which I deserve
one which I deserve
and I am ready for.
and I am ready for.
So,
And so it shall be.
And so it shall be.
And
so
so
it
it shall
shall
be.
be.
And so it shall be.
And so it shall be.
And so it shall be.
And so it
And
shall
so
be.
it shall be.
We're going to bring this thing to the right here and the right now, and we say, and so it is,
And so it is.
So it is.
and so it is,
And so it
And
is.
so it is.
and so it is.
And so it is.
It is.
We're going to take our final 3 deep breaths this time before we blow them out. We're going to imagine ourselves mighty winds collectively blowing away all of our cares, our concerns, our worries, our disappointments, our heartaches, our heartbreaks, those fears, the stresses, the X's. We blowing all of that unwanted, unneeded, unnecessary energy away. On the count of 3, I want you guys to breathe in and blow out like you've never breathed in nor blown out before. Are we ready? I guess we are. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Breathe in. And blow out. Again, breathe in. And blow out. One final time, breathe in. And blow out.
Thank you. That is Miss Trisha Martin. And how do people find you?
Y'all can find me all over the internet, but if you want to send me a note, an inquiry, anything of that nature, you can contact me over at finallytheredhawk@gmail.com. That's finallytheredhawk@gmail.com.
And thank you, Miss Trisha Red Hawk. I would definitely appreciate that. So that spiritual cleanse, hopefully everybody felt that participated in that we are to clear our heads of all the craziness that we carry around every day. And so we have someone join us here. Miss Rosa McGee, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosa McGee.
You gotta come up to the microphone, sweetie.
sorry.
Use
Sorry.
your outside voice.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rosa McGee. I'm a tenant that is going through an eviction during the pandemic. And I'm actually, believe it or not, a business owner. And I'm not understanding why I'm having such a hard time, but yet I am.
And so, are you interested in the Perch credit?
Yes, that's why I'm here today.
All right. So that brings in and ties in how everyday people can really utilize Perch credit.
Yes.
And so before they came on, they gave a little bit of details. How could your situation, what do you have that can fit into utilizing Perch credit to boost your credit score?
Well, I know that I've been paying my rent and cell phone bills and things like that I know that could be added to my credit, but yet it has not been added to my credit. I deal with a lot of financial services, so I'm actually a startup business trying to get into credit repair, credit education, and literacy and things of that nature because I am the little person and didn't know a lot of things. So I want to help educate the other people and say, hey, this is how you know it, and you don't have to pay millions of dollars to learn this. It's a simple form of getting things done. So when I heard about Perch app being on here, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad to hear what they got to say and offer or whatever have you. And I'm like, okay. Some educational things that could help me in my business. That is one of my businesses that I have. Like I said, Infinity Financial is one of my businesses.
How can others, I'll ask Miss Brenda Martin, do you need any credit help or repairs? Miss Brenda Nelson? Anyone on the phone? Miss Danielle Minor, do you need any credit repair or help?
Oh, yes, I do.
Can you speak up just a little bit? You're a little low, or turn your volume up.
Yes, I do. I know I need credit services. That I do know.
So today's topic, do y'all know of any other people that could utilize these services?
Of course.
Yes.
What in some of the ways will having a poor credit score affect them in the future?
Housing. I'm sorry, housing.
And what do you mean by housing?
Because if you get a judgment or you get a negative report on your credit, that's going to prevent you from getting a place or getting a loan to get a place, a decent livable home. So you're forced to live with these quote unquote slumlords and take what they have to offer and pay your money and still end up getting robbed and not living adequately. So yeah, that kind of plays a part in that.
And Miriam and Michael, whichever one wants to respond, what are some of the major complaints that you get from people trying to fix their credit?
We get a variety of responses. Sometimes it's just independent college students who aren't really supported by their family. So they need to build their own credit score to rely on themselves because obviously credit access is extremely important to get housing, to get credit cards, to get loans, things like that. We also have people who are looking to own a home or buy a car, and that's one of our big consumer base too. I also wanted to say, anybody on the call, please feel free to email me at mariam@getperch.app, and I can see what I can do to get you on the app sooner.
That sounds great.
I'm interested.
So will you repeat that again? Just so if they can text themselves or whatever they need to do?
Yeah, you can email me at mariam@getperch.app.
All right. So Miriam at getperch.app. So she's letting you know, reach out to her. And she is awesome. Very phenomenal. Very phenomenal. She gave me some awesome shout-outs out on some shows. And then just speaking with her, she is very passionate, very genuine. It has been an extreme pleasure.
Well, I'm sure if you love her, I'm going to love her as well.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
So one of the things we want to discuss. Now, you two ladies that are in studio, I'm going to start with Miss Hallie. Miss Hallie, what are you going through right now that could potentially affect your credit report? And you?
I think I've been in the hospital for the past 3 or 4 days where I'm having actual burning in my brain. it's due to stress. Stress is the key thing that can cause a lot of health problems. Just so happen I'm not a very healthy person,
You're going through an eviction right
and
now.
and that's making it even worse. Where I'm even actually having difficulty walking.
But back to the eviction that you're going through.
But
Tell the audience about your eviction.
my eviction is I periodically when I call in to get some information, the phone goes dead. In other words, the party is not communicating with me when I asked her, why are you taking more money out of my bank account that's not authorized? I get a zero response.
Now, let's back up. So your situation, because there's a lot of people on here, so I want to give people time to be able to speak. So in your situation, you had the property owners took excess money out of your account for a few months last summer.
Yes.
And you have tried to resolve it several times and you've never gotten a response.
Yes, I have called first and then I have sent out letters to everyone that is pertaining to the realtor company. And I have not received anything back that they have received that information, nor has the letters come back to me.
Well, so as this process has moved along, we know that they have received it. We know that Councilman Grady, who I believe was supposed to be a part of this, but he has contacted us. We know the police department has contacted us. So we do know that it has been received. And so where we're at with this now, with everybody getting involved, the goal is to make sure that people do understand by reading, keyword reading, the HUD paper that shows what her rent amount is, and then reading her financial records that show what amount was actually extracted out of her accounts. And so with that being said, we want to articulate that many people could be like a Miss Marion Halley, that because of what the property owner did against the tenant, and the tenant merely just wanted a refund or a response, or they wanted relief, now they're facing eviction. With a situation like Miss Halley's, when it hits the credit reports, and it affects everyone, this is something that we want to bring to people like Perch Credit, to say, hey, you might be dealing with people that do have evictions on their record. They can't get any relief, but yet they're in fact impacted dramatically. Michael, Miriam, either one or both. What would you have to say to Miss Marion Halley that could be affected by credit report, but you don't know that it was her property owner that put her in eviction, that put the judgment on her credit report?
Yeah, I can jump in quickly here, and Miriam, definitely feel free to follow up. I think what makes this such a big issue is from the outside world, right? When you're going to go get your first credit card, or you're looking to get a loan, or you're looking to even like refinance your current debt, all they see is this like negative ding on your credit report, and it's like, oh, this person's ability to repay or ability to be responsible is bad. And where this becomes a problem is like, not only is it a negative report on your credit, but it's also something that you were not at fault at. Which is why we love what you're doing, honestly. So I do think that this is not only a big issue, but it's something that we hope to solve, with Perch. We want to take those on-time payments that you've had, those Netflix, Hulu, Spotify payments that you have, and let these kind of counteract those bad things on your credit report by reporting these to the bureaus and positively impacting your score. Even though we are like on the good side of credit building and accounting for those payments that they normally don't account for, stuff like this being removed from your credit report or working, to prove your side of the case is extremely important, because that's the other 50% of really keeping your score strong. But But yeah, I don't know, Miriam, if you want to follow up on that, but we really do love what you're doing.
And
Thank you very much.
And thank you. Yes. So she is a prime example of some of the people that I represent that will be utilizing your services. However, just as it's being explained, their situation, it wasn't their fault, but yet they're bearing the brunt of poor credit. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Rosa McGee, who is also facing eviction. Give a little background of your story.
Okay, where do I begin? Good morning, everyone. So I have been moved into a quote unquote, as I'm finding out, a boarding house. I was told it was a bed and breakfast, more of an extended stay kind of a bed and breakfast. And Miss Henrietta Taylor actually currently still runs the Central West End Bed and Breakfast on Washington. Now, she's when I first started, she was charging us a lesser amount, and then it went up. She was always invading our privacy. She always walked in when she felt like it. I say, "Oh, I pay rent. I'm sorry. I understand this is a bed and breakfast extended kind of stay thing, but you're supposed to give us notice when you come in." Okay, at one point in time, it was 5 families in a 2-family flat dwelling. Yes, that is very illegal. But again, I was told that this was a bed and breakfast. This is what I thought I was getting into. I ran into a hard time with the landlord previously before then. Come to find out, he never had an occupancy permit. So, yeah, that's a long story. And I have $6,400 on my credit because he said that I never paid him rent to make, when I went to court, we had a judgment. So, long story short on that forced me into Miss Henrietta's situation. Ergo, she had 5 families in there. I had an occupancy lease. I had a lease. The exact same time, another person had a lease for the same floor. Come to find out, it's a 1-bedroom dwelling. You had 5 people, including 2 families on the first floor, 2 families on the second floor, and someone that is currently still living in the basement right now to this day. So you were cited and other people had to move. Now, you actually had a person that had a lease. My lease started February to December. That is not a calendar year. The other gentleman that was on the floor that you forced out illegally because he had an agency to pay his rent, as well as I had an agency because at first I was paying out of pocket and then I fell on hard times and I was, needing some assistance. So I got some assistance from Urban League. They paid her in December. Well, December 1st, she put handwritten notice saying that you have 30 days to vacate. She didn't want my money anymore. I took over the first floor by myself on October 1st. My rent went from $620 to $800 starting October 1st, 2020. So the agency took care of that. I scraped up what I could in November, gave her $675. They took care of the rest of the balance. She did not ask for December, and we were in December when she got paid. She got paid at least in December 11th, like I said. So, it's just like I said, I'm running out the one problem after another, and I'm just trying to sum it up. But, yeah, she was basically getting over, and here it is that I'm trying to be a small business owner and still keep things going and try to help people with this type of thing. But yet, I'm running into the same problems.
When is your court hearing?
Friday.
Now, I need people to understand because the people have been told there's an eviction moratorium and people are not getting evicted. When did you say your court hearing was?
March 26, 2021. I'm sorry.
So to be clear, they are doing evictions. The only thing that's not being done is the physical removal from the property.
Well, I was told that extension was till April 1st, so they will not physically enforce a judgment to vacate the premises until after April 1st, 2021. But
that's in what, 10 days?
Yep. So I'm going to basically I'm having a problem of finding somewhere. I have to come up with the money to buy a house in 10 days.
Now,
I'm going to be homeless.
I want to go right there. I want to talk about that right there. So now we know the stimulus has just come out.
Mm-hmm.
But stimulus is not what?
It's not an income.
It's not an income. And for you to be able to move, they usually ask you for how many times the amount of rent?
Oh, 2 to 3.
2 to 3. So even though, and people believe the stimulus, and it has come out, they think that you can move on that stimulus check.
Oh, no. This is what I'm hearing. You got your stimulus check and you get unemployment. Well, it's not. Unemployment is not a dependable income. It can stop at any time. So, yeah, we're going to move on to some more qualified applicants. Or I don't qualify enough for a bank loan. That's what I've been running into for the last 60 days.
Because of a previous judgment of a house that did not have an occupancy permit.
And this one, ergo, does not legally have one either.
So that's a pattern of poverty as far as rental properties are concerned.
That's what I'm finding out.
And you pay premium rent. What were the amounts of rent?
I was paying $620 for a living room and dining room section of that one bedroom, and then it went to the entire first floor. It went from $620 to $800. So that's almost $180 in less than 30 days. It jumped to.
Okay, so I definitely wanted to put that out there, that people are not paying, cheaper rent or less rent. You're paying premium rent to live in these substandard properties.
Oh, yeah. And I have a lockbox that has, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell that one little thing. Yeah, I can't even turn my heat up when I want. I have a lockbox on it. It's been on there the entire time. So I can't put utilities in my name and get heat adequate. And I have space heaters running that she gave me that no longer operate. I had to purchase my own. I have to heat it with the oven. And mind you, I pay $800 a month. And I'm being evicted for 3 months that she refused to take the rent just so she can tell me to leave. Because she did not want to rent to me anymore. Those were her words.
How many people do you think are living in the city of St. Louis, just for example, that are not having an occupancy permit?
Oh, hundreds.
And so do we understand, or let me say this, without an occupancy permit, it's not legal to permit a tenant to move in or reside the place.
Without a housing conservation is what they're calling it, you cannot legally go into a contract of rent tenant situation without that. So when she did not have that, that became null and void of my lease. So basically, yeah.
Okay, so yes. So with that being said, you moved into a place that is literally condemned. If it doesn't have an occupancy permit, it has not been inspected.
Exactly.
So when I say that, most people think I'm talking about a building with boards on it. No, I'm talking about buildings that are being advertised for rent, but they are not functionable and they're not habitable.
No.
So we understand that people like you exist all over that have judgments.
Yes.
So one of the things, actually, let me kick it to some of the advocates on the phone. Mr. Gus Halley. Mr. Halley? I don't know if he can hear me. This Danielle Minor?
Yes.
What does, as an advocate for Miss Marion Halley, how do you feel knowing that she's going through this?
I feel horrible. I'm her niece, and I can't. It disturbs me because she's going through all this.
Mr. Halley, how does it affect you that your sister is going through this?
It affects me because I see how many people are involved in betraying my sister after decades of living there and treating her as such, because the credit is the blood and you need that to survive. And it disturbs me that they go into her bank account, which she trusts them with, to make withdrawals, and then want to be deceptive, be full of deception towards her. It makes me say, why? Because me being a big brother, just as well as she has nieces and nephews and other brothers, another brother also, it inflames me. It inflames me, my feelings of them doing such a thing to her. I mean, you can't get physical with people today, but because we're not kids where we go out and fight or anything, but it makes you feel angry that you wish you could put your hands on so many people that are doing such a thing to your sister.
You mentioned anger. How many times do we hear about the anger in the inner cities? How many times? And nobody ever thinks it could be an angry tenant being done wrong by a property owner.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's uncalled for, You know, like I say, why are they doing this? You know, like I say, your credit is your blood. You mess with your credit, you are you're very much handicapped. Your credit is your life. If you don't have any credit, no one wants to listen to you or hear you or anything. And like I say, my sister, she's not an orphan. And one thing about it is, I don't care to see her down there in a homeless shelter due to something that's not her fault. You know, with Reverend Rice. I mean, back in the day, I used to be around there when I was a Western Union boy. I see a lot of people that were homeless living in them prop houses, but there was a reason. They were lawyers and stuff. Well, you know, come to find out, there was something that involved in them. Had a loss that brought them down to that situation. That wasn't their fault. And relatives, being a relative, I've seen things happen to other people.
I'll
I don't
give
know.
him the keys. You can leave it with me and tell him to call me, and when he comes up home and come over, and I'll give it to him.
I'm sorry, who's speaking? Is this Miss Nelson?
I don't know. I was speaking. Someone come in and said something, but like I say, I've seen homeless people, what they have to deal with and stuff of that nature. And that's the last thing I want to see my sister being homeless due to something that's not her fault.
Correct. Now you've hit another one. Being homeless. This is making people homeless. Good, innocent people that's had money extracted, or tenants complaining about not having an occupancy permit
Or heat,
not having adequate heat.
privacy. Stop walking in when you feel like it.
Controlling your own heat and electric.
And this is called having tenants' rights.
Yeah.
This is called tenants' rights. So when we exercise our rights, they do what?
They ask you to leave.
They evict you.
That is exactly why I received 2 notice of evictions, because I wanted to get answers and they just zipped their lips and didn't say anything. And after I spoke twice and I said, will you please respond back to the question that I'm asking? No response. So I said, I guess I'll hang up. And then 2 days later, there's an eviction notice taped to my door, not mailed to me, but taped on my front door.
Well, that's from the property owners. It has not moved into the court yet. So, with that being said, this is what we wanted to bring to Perch credit. There's so many people that are experiencing this, could be good people, that are good people, because not everybody owed a judgment. But now they're stuck in Missouri. Number one, many times the courts will allow for late fees to be put on or added into the judgment.
Yep.
So it might have been $600 a month rent, but if you allow $50 a day, so $50 times 30 days is $1,500. Think it's a joke? It's not, because I have a petition with $1,500 in late fees incorporated. Miriam or Michael, for people who cannot articulate this of what happened to them, how do you think it makes them, or how can possibly people even deal in life about their credit when they've already went through a horrible situation and now it's affecting them on their credit scores pretty much for life?
I'm told judgments, you have to get a court order to take it off. So I don't have money to go to no judge to have to take it off.
Do we understand there's no avenues for people like Miss Miriam or people like Miss Rosa currently that are going through this and have these type of court judgments on their records, on their credit reports?
Yeah, I think
it's honestly a two-tier problem too, right? We work with the bureaus pretty often. Like we're having a daily effort of working with the bureaus, creating new data lines, helping get people, rent and credit subscriptions reported to increase their credit. But the one thing that the bureaus do not like is bad data. And when I say bad data, it's data that doesn't actually like accurately represent the situation. And it seems like in this case, there's an underlining problem in the inner cities where people are being wrongly accused of, bad rent, and no one is actually coming in and stopping this from being put on a credit report. And I feel like if the bureaus knew that there is bad data affecting people's credit and ultimately sending them into situations where they lose credit access and even become homeless, it's a problem that the bureaus would want to solve. So I do think out of anything, this is an awareness thing. It's something that me and Miriam, honestly, hearing all these stories help a lot. It makes us think about what are ways that we can use our current pipelines to help people in situations like this. If it's helping remove items from credit reports, if it's helping to connect with landlords or new landlords to find better locations to live, if it's proving ability to repay to counteract these charges. I think there's a lot that we are walking away with right now that we can not only improve our own platform for people like this, but also just like help let those in the bureaus and other decisioning pipelines what's going on here.
Yeah, going off of that, Mike said something about awareness, and I truly did not know that this issue existed at all until you brought it to us. So that is something that we would love to help you with, just bringing awareness to this issue, because I think a lot of people just don't even know that this exists.
I agree with you. If you are told in the media, for example, were you either one aware that people were actually getting evicted in court? Let me ask that question.
No.
So I think right there, the fact that people hear eviction moratorium, and when people were told that, people just assumed all evictions stopped. So imagine what it's been like to be the only voice out here, feel like anyway, screaming and hollering that tenants are still being evicted while the media says eviction moratorium.
Well, they tell you to fill out this form and then send it to your landlord. And then after that, then what? Because I'm still facing court eviction Friday. I have less than 4 days before I have to go to Zoom. They even make it to where you can do it online. You don't even have to physically go into court. And if you do not show up, it is a judgment against you. So if you are 2 minutes late logging in, or if you have a malfunction, they're still going to count that as you not showing up.
And I'm happy that you brought that up, that this is happening on the Zooms. So the fact that they're doing it on Zoom, it helps people with this misguided understanding that they're not happening because people don't see the activity going through the courts.
And the bad part about that is I was served by the sheriffs.
And here's a question. Do we all believe that everybody has computers and technology?
No, everyone doesn't.
They assume
Everybody
so.
don't.
I will agree they assumed everyone doesn't.
Well, we have older people on here. Gus, do you have Zoom on your phone?
Not on my phone, but I have on my computer.
Are you familiar with and capable of using it?
With help.
With help. That's the key. With
Yes.
help. So, and that's my point. A lot of people are going to need help to be able to log on Zoom. But what you said, if they don't show, that's called a default judgment.
Exactly.
So many people are being evicted for default judgments. And it might be because they need help to log on to a computer. Here's another thought. Some of the libraries don't even open until 1 o'clock. What if your court hearing is at 9:30?
It is at 9:30 a.m. They get it bright and early.
So if you didn't have access to a computer at home, how would you make court?
Oh, they said that if coronavirus didn't have access, so they might still let you go into the court building so that you could try, but there's no guarantee. You have to go the day before, I guess, to see if the building's going to be open for court. Then they give you another option to call in over the phone. So they're trying to make it a way to there's no reason possible for you not to be there if you want to be a part of this process. So they give you a phone option, they give you a Zoom option, and they also give you an in-person option, but we know due to COVID, that's not going to be an option.
Now, I want to piggyback off of what she said, and I'm going to turn the floor back over. So they gave out all these options: phone, Zoom, and potentially in person with no guarantee, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So phone, you can't file a defense. Zoom, you can't file a defense.
Nope.
And if you go in person, that would be the only way that you could actually file a defense. So I would just want to throw this out for people listening. Even if you go on the Zoom, you can't file on a Zoom. So it's a way for the courts, if a judge wants to be that way, he can evict every tenant that he hears. Why? Because not one tenant would have filed a defense on the record.
Yep.
You got served paperwork, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I'm writing your defense to be filed on the record.
Yes.
What about people who don't have people to help them file defenses on the record? What do you think happens to them?
Well, I'll tell you, they are supposed to come to court more than likely 9 times out of 10. They don't either show up by any of those means and don't know how, or don't actually take the time. And then they give them 10 days to vacate the premises. But due to the eviction moratorium, the sheriffs are not going to force it. So they'll wait 45 days before they're taken out of the property by that force, or seizure. But again, they're not enforcing it due to that. But I'm just telling you all the steps that they told me on what's going to happen, because they actually put this in writing.
So the fact that if somebody does not file a defense for them, nothing is filed in court. And it's what Gus said. They're going to be evicted. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing is giving some understanding. Hopefully this makes sense. That even if they do show up on the Zoom, even if they go to court, the judge legally does not have to listen to anything they say. Why? Because nothing was filed as a defense. You wasn't told you were getting eviction. It was filed you're getting an eviction, correct?
Yes.
So then to accurately and legally defend it, you would have to file an answer to the petition.
Yes.
In Zoom, you can't file. In a phone call, you can't file.
Exactly.
So I'm bringing this out so people can understand the steps that tenants have to go through. They're set up to make them fail, because no one is telling them you still need to file a defense on the record.
Yep. No one said all of that.
I wasn't aware of that.
I'm agreeing with that, because again, I just told you everything that they told me in writing of what's going to happen to me at court. If I cannot come, I will have 10 days to vacate the premises. After court, it will be a default judgment. But not one time did they state, hey, you in order to respond to this, you have to come, and because I've been to court previously before. So at that time, that was pre-corona. So therefore, I could actually go in and argue my case. Hey, this didn't happen. He didn't have this. He didn't have this. I had pictures. They let us negotiate. But I'm not going to have that option this time, because, again, I've already checked. They're not doing in person.
All right. So now, even if you go in and argue, and yes, I've won cases on argument. So then they started hitting me. I had to learn how to file. You can have a cold mouthpiece, but I'm going to go back to the default part. Without you filing any defense on the record, the court can legally say you never responded by filing. Mm-hmm. So I open this up to Miriam and Michael to say that these are the tricks and the traps, and most tenants are not told how to maneuver to actually win. And I have your pieces of paper, and it's correct. There's nothing on there, because they'll say we can't give legal advice. But they'll give you the steps of what you should do and what you could do. But they don't give you the steps of how to proceed as a tenant.
Exactly.
There's no websites to go on.
Nope.
There's nothing of municipality websites.
Nope.
There's nothing on legal services websites.
Nope.
So tenants,
Oh, wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. I even contacted Legal Aid. Let me tell you what they said to me. So, Legal Aid tells me, contact me when you actually get a letter in court, when your court date comes. Oh, I contacted them to tell them that I have a court date. Okay, ma'am. Well, you know they can't evict you till after, they're not going to enforce it until August 1st. These are legal lawyers telling me that they're not going to enforce it until the 1st. So, do you owe them rent? Wait a minute. I just told you this lady didn't have an occupancy permit, and you argued that I pay the rent.
oh, well, stop right there. Now, that's the commonality right there. That's step 2. Did you pay the rent? And what you said, they ignored you when you said you didn't have an occupancy permit, correct?
Exactly.
Now, that's the key in the nutshell right there. If you ignored the first step, and I want to put this in the analogy of a driver's license. We all drive at this table or did drive. We're all familiar at some point.
Right.
You must have a state-issued ID to be considered legal to drive.
Yes, ma'am.
So the occupancy permit is the same correlation to a driver's license. And without having one, you are illegal to allow tenants to drive in to occupy the premises. Are we clear and correct?
Yep.
So with that being said, without no occupancy permit, that means it was illegal for them to occupy the premises.
So that means she owed me money.
Anyone have a comment on that? I want to open it up.
As her niece, as Miss Hallie's niece, this makes me not want to even go and try to get subsidized housing for myself. After everything she's gone through, and my aunt is up there in age, and I'm blessed and thankful that she's here for me, but it makes me definitely not want to even consider going to get housing for myself. And I'm blessed that I'm in a house, but I don't want any subsidized housing. And I feel bad for other people that, you know, might not even have family members or somewhere to go. And Reverend Larry Rice, his shelter is not even there anymore. And so but I will not watch and sit back and watch my aunt become homeless over something that they're doing when she has consistently paid rent, and she's been where she's been for 16 years. Come on.
And with that being said, so imagine what it's like for tenants. If there's no information, if you call legal services and you tell them, hey, I'm in a condemned building, it don't have an occupancy permit, and they ignore you and say, did you pay the rent? That really is the cusp. It's the cusp of why tenants can't make it and win in the courts. It's an explanation of how tenants are treated when they need help and assistance.
They stall to try to find a way to not help you. In so many words, they're almost as worse as public defenders. They have so many caseloads. They're trying to figure out how can we possibly get the landlord on the phone? Is it something we could talk to him about? Or is it something we can mediate on your behalf without actually going to court? Once it gets to court, oh, well, we'll refer you to some other Arch City defenders. Well, yeah, I have yet to hear from them, and I called them personally. It's like if you don't have a paid lawyer, you don't have anything coming. I've actually lived in my car before, so I'm actually going a step above to be able to pay rent on time and everything, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I don't have any help. I don't have anybody. My mom's passed away 5 years ago. I have nobody. I've been struggling, and I've been trying to make it without asking anybody the best that I can, and I'm not asking for any handouts, but they're pushing me into a corner. I'm literally facing eviction and homelessness in less than 10 days.
This is called poverty. This is called poverty in a nutshell. We're just talking about the avenues. Your avenue is not having an occupancy permit.
But yet I'm finna be homeless.
Your avenue, they took extra money out.
And that's not right. They stealing from you.
So different avenues will get you into poverty. It will get you to where this is on your credit report.
Exactly.
It will get you to where now you can no longer buy a house. You can no longer qualify. And all the key players either turn a blind eye or simply just, doing nothing is a blind eye. Or, no, here is the or. Now, you said somebody paid the rent on the condemned building. What organizations did that?
Urban League, actually.
Urban League.
But I just got a letter from the city courts. This lady dated it March 15th. She got a letter that was attached to my eviction notice from the sheriff's office that I turned in. And she said she was working with the city of St. Louis, and she told me that April 1st, 2021, it was what it was extended to. And I just got this letter in the mail yesterday. Yesterday was dated the 19th. She told me, when this letter gets to you, call me, and I'm working remotely, leave me a message. But I go to court Friday. I wonder what she can help me with. I have a 5-year-old daughter. You mean to tell me I'm finna sleep in my car with a 5-year-old daughter?
So the idea, and I bring that up so people can hear, a lot of times the entities that are told or are promoted out there to help us are literally paying the slumlords in the background.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, she said she was going to pay up to 3 months of rent
to another slumlord,
to this landlord, to avoid eviction, but it's too late. We're in court status.
Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up. Even if you cure the money, and this is another thing, people think because there's rent assistance that once the landlords get paid, the tenants are okay. That is not true.
She wants me gone. She doesn't even want the money. I even intentionally, before she put the handwritten eviction notice on the door December 1st, that lady was paid by the 11th. She said, oh, okay, let's gear up and get your paid up for December. I said, okay, well, first of all, since I've gotten you paid, let's get this heat together. Can you turn it up? Can we do this? Can we start fixing this? Can we start fixing that? 11 days later, to the day, I received a letter from her so-called lawyer saying that I have to be gone by the 31st of January.
So the idea is, if the legal services is not providing you the proper information, if they ignore that you don't have an occupancy permit, if you're going to another agency that's supposed to be giving you assistance and they pay your rent, but it does not stop you because you've already been through the eviction proceeding.
Yep.
They don't take that back. It's not dismissed.
Nope.
It's basically just put on the side in limbo and waiting until they want to exercise it at any time.
Yep.
Michael and Miriam, do you think this only happens in Missouri, or could this be happening all over the country?
I'm sure this does happen in Los Angeles, for example. I mean, we have a horrible, horrible homelessness problem. And we don't really, there's no public information on why we have such a bad homelessness problem. So I'm sure that might be part of it, but I honestly haven't heard anything about it.
Mr. Halley, are you trying to say something?
I was mumbling. This is something of occupancy permit. I didn't know it had that much level in it. Such as I didn't know the occupancy permit was so much involved. I know some have occupancy permit, and I know some people that don't. And I see you can be caught between the rock and the hard places in such a situation. I was not aware of the comments you just made about occupancy permit.
Now let me take you deep. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of people, like you say, in other states and stuff like that, people can not be aware, just like myself.
Let me take you deeper with the no occupancy permit, please, just real quick. So in Jennings and Riverview, tenants cannot request a building inspection. They cannot request someone to come out to do an inspection of the premises. Let that sink in. Now, Ms. Hallie, we called people. They responded. They're coming. In the city of St. Louis, she can call. They will come. But in municipalities like Riverview and Jennings, if you have a building inspection, you have no one to call in the municipality. What do you think those tenants do in those municipalities?
I'm not sure.
Exactly. And they ain't either. They know nothing. They have no clue of what to do. So it allows Riverview and Jennings to literally say, well, we don't know about any condemned buildings. We don't hear tenants' complaints. That's true. Because it's written for them not to.
They can't put it in writing.
They can't put it in writing because they can't go out and see the building. Only the landlord can request a building inspection. Not the tenant, only the landlord.
And why would the landlord want to do that?
Well, the landlord will do it to get the occupancy permit. So let's say the building inspector comes in. They do an inspection of the house. It looks good. But let's say the furnace is ran by gas and everything else is electric. This is a prime example. It happens all the time. So the gas is not on in the summertime. That's when the building inspector comes in. He does the inspection. No thoughts. Now the tenant moves in, and now it's getting cold. And so they go, they pay the deposit, they turn on the gas. I mean, it's a perfect thing because it is a different utility. So the tenant hasn't paid the deposit, and not everybody expects the property owner to keep the gas on because the gas was in a previous tenant's name. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's why I'm going around this so you can see it in whole. So it's perfect if the landlord knows that the furnace is broken because there's no way to verify it until it's time to use it.
Exactly.
So the tenants it gets cold, the tenants pay the deposit, they go to flip it on, and here comes there's no gas. There's no heat. And so finally, Spire will come out, because that's our gas company here, and they'll tell you, and this has happened in another case, so I'm speaking through experience through another case. I'm not making this up. Spire will come to the door, and they will put a notice on the door. They'll come in and check as far as they can to the lines of what is theirs, and then they will just put a notice and say that the furnace is inoperable or it's leaking gas. That notice is not sent to the municipalities. It is not sent to the property owners.
Nope.
It is just put on the tenant's door.
Who does that?
Spire.
The gas company.
So notice
Fire.
what.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
You said Fire. Who is Fire?
Spire. The gas company's here. Spire.
Oh, okay. That.
It used to be called Leclerc Gas.
So did you notice the lineage of the policy that doesn't happen? The notice is not sent to the municipalities, and it is not sent to the property owners. It's only put on the tenant's door. So a way to bring resolution, that's why I'm putting it out there. Any property that Spire has been called out to for a gas leak, for example, that is a rental property, it should have to be reported to the municipality. See, it's not done that way right now. So technically, the property owner can say, well, I didn't know. Because of the policy of how Spire does it, of just putting it on the tenant's door. Does that make any sense to anybody?
I understand. I have a question about some of my friends that are landlords. I'm going to make inquiries.
And that's what this is for. Because people, there's so many gaps in what's going on that I learned this through actual people's cases. And so the next tenant, that notice is not going to be on the door when they bring the next tenant in.
Of course not.
So they kick the tenant out. They move another tenant in the summer. It's going on right now on St. Louis Avenue. It's tenants in there right now, and that building did not have no heat. There's tenants on Terry Avenue. That building didn't have any heat. So this is how people get in. And you talked about space heaters, and then I'm going to turn it back over.
Yeah.
So you couldn't control your heat.
I couldn't control my heat because she literally had a lockbox. And come to find out, when the winter time came, she had to get it serviced. She told me she wasn't going to turn the heat on until snow fell on the ground. And this was in November.
How many space heaters do you have?
I have approximately 5.
5.
And I use the oven, electric oven, to heat my entire first floor apartment because she has not had it weatherized. It's so many gaps and holes in rooms. Like, I can close a door where the thermostat is, and it literally has to be ice cold in order for the house heat to kick on.
So, and
no one sleeps in that room.
So 5 space heaters and an oven. How many breakers do you have in your house?
Oh, it's a circuit breaker.
And how many? Just one?
It's a circuit breaker for the first floor, and because of whatever the guy has plugged up in the basement, and the way she has the microwave running, I can't have my space heaters on and run the microwave, or it'll blow the whole first floor.
All right. So there's 3 floors. There's a basement, there's a first floor, and a second floor.
The basement is actually a utility room that she's renting out as an apartment. And it has a bathroom down there and a separate entrance to come in and out, so she's kind of getting, quote unquote, an apartment type of vibe with that.
So if you're running 5 space heater, and I know you are because I've been there, 5 space heaters and the oven, what do you think the people upstairs is running? What do you think the people downstairs is running simultaneously? So when we talk about and we see all these houses catching on fire, see, now this is the recipe for that. That nobody says, we'll see it in the news as an undetermined fire. Now, people knew that
the ones she gave me were old. She had them stored in her garage. Those actually, if I would have continued to use it, my house would have been on fire months ago. They actually stopped working, started sparking, and had literally fire coming out of it. I had to unplug it immediately and throw it away. I told her I'll buy another one because I'm not finna die because of you.
So how many times now hearing this do we see on the news of a fire that could have been prevented?
Every day.
And I've asked her to turn the heat up, and now I'm being evicted. She said, "Oh, I don't want you to feel like I'm a slumlord." Well, ma'am, you are. I called you what you were. I basically stated facts, and I told them I couldn't even give my daughter a decent Christmas because I have to worry about paying you. I've paid you every dollar that I've owed you the entire time I've been here, and yet you don't want to rent to me for no apparent reason. I haven't given you any problems. I haven't called any police. I don't have any, anything coming that will make you not want to rent to me as a tenant. And I've been there almost a year, and then you just tell me, "Oh, well, I'll renovate it after you move out."
Miss Miriam, you spoke about people being homeless. And now that I've went through this, and I'm not familiar with California, but I am familiar with poverty and problems of tenants. Do you think that people could be living out homeless in California at this rate of a potential Marion situation or a potential Rosa situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that I'm aware of it, I definitely think it's possible. I would have to look into it, definitely.
So imagine for all the people who are homeless, if they could say, "Oh, hey, that happened to me. I'm a Marion model. They were taking money out of my account too, and I tried to fight back, and they evicted me." The goal is, hopefully, that now that we're utilizing the Marion model, that they would know to go and get their HUD paper or whatever paper to show what their lease amount was to pay. And now we would know they need to go get their financial records or their receipts. And they would qualify as a Marion model. Does that make any sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of how to help people that are already homeless and how to help people to keep them from being homeless.
Or just in general, to teach people how to find out if you are legally in a contract binding of rent. Because that's what it is. If you don't have an occupancy permit, then that piece of paper that you signed to make you pay this rent is null and void.
Whoa. Wait. Epiphany. Say that again.
Repeat what you said.
Okay.
Repeat what you said.
Because, again, you are not legally binded to a rental contract in the state of Missouri without a housing conservation permit, which is better known as a occupancy permit. So therefore, when you sign a lease and it is not in place before you sign it, that piece of paper became null and void the minute you signed it and it was not there. They cannot charge you a dime.
They shouldn't be able to. Does that make sense?
According to what I'm being told in the state of Missouri. And yes, I have been to City Hall. And yes, they have explained that exactly the way I said it to me.
Does that make sense to everyone on the panel? I'm sorry, Gus.
I hate to be in that situation.
But did it make sense? Because it didn't have an occupancy permit that the lease should be null and void.
No, it's not fair. I mean, it's trickery. That's why I want to ask a friend of mine, does she have occupancy permits for her people that she rents homes to?
Correct, but we want to make a.
You know?
So what she's saying is, if it didn't have an occupancy permit, would the lease be valid on something that did not have an occupancy permit?
I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, if you have a lease, I think a lease makes it valid. But sounds like what you're saying is you have to have occupancy permit to make your lease valid.
Michael, I believe that was you who said a resounding no.
No, it was Sean.
Sean, hi, Sean.
How you doing?
I am well. I do not see you up on my screen. This is creepy. Oh my God, I do not see you either. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Have you been here this whole time?
No, I was late.
Okay, and I still do not see you on my screen. This is creepy.
I don't see you on my screen either.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is some woo-woo-woo. All right. Thank you, Sean, from tuning in from Florida. Yes.
Thank you.
And you said no. Why did you say no, Sean?
Because if you don't have a occupancy, have a residence there, they can't be leasing out to someone.
That's right. They failed. They failed to follow the proper protocol.
Exactly.
And so when they fail, the system has taught us to ignore their failure and continue to pay rent as if all of it's legal and it's no big deal. That's where I'm trying to get this out to.
So you have to have the occupancy permit.
Yes, for the municipalities that have it in their system of function or policy. Not everybody has this. So if they don't have it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's where the lease is involved. If you have a lease and not an occupancy permit, then you're helpless.
It goes back to the driver's license thing that
I'm not
saying.
Well, I'm saying that it's being done illegally. I'm giving the articulation because it can't be both. If an occupancy permit was frivolous, then why mandate it to have it for safety? So if people fail to get an occupancy permit, if I failed to get a driver's license and I got stopped, there's going to be no question that I'm driving illegally.
Correct.
Come on, Miss Marion.
I want to make a statement.
Speak it to your microphone.
I want to make a statement. When I applied for the apartments in Kenilwood, after I was approved verbally, the first thing the office manager had me to do was to go to Blackjack City Hall and fill out a occupancy permit. Once I did that, but when I sent me over there, the apartment had not been inspected. So when I relayed that information back to the manager, she was shocked. Then they came out, Blackjack City Hall, whoever inspect that apartment came out. And then after that, they had me to come back in and fill out the official lease papers. But first they wanted to see where I was living. And at that time, I was living with my older brother because I had just moved back here from Tampa, Florida. And I've always lived in a home. And in the 60s, when I was married, you rented an apartment, but you didn't have to do an occupancy permit. So when I came back here in 92, I had never heard of an occupancy permit because I was always living in a house with a homeowner that owned the property.
Now, you just spoke on something, and that's what we're trying to put out there. There's nothing.
I want to put something out. I want to put something out there before you do.
Go ahead.
Now, when we lived when I moved to St. Louis County in 1976, you lived in unincorporated. You didn't have to have an occupancy permit. That was in Hathaway Manor North and Hathaway Manor South. Those were homes. People bought homes.
You are correct. You hit that on the head. If you are in an unincorporated area, they do have some ordinances now in St. Louis County. You are correct. So like in Phelps County, for example, if you live one inch where I live at in Rolla, you are completely unprotected as a tenant. There are no county tenant laws or habitability laws outside of city limits. So what you're saying, Gus, and it's still true to this day, there are many places in Missouri that are completely unincorporated as far as tenants laws, as far as habitability, and those tenants have no protection. Let that sink in.
The thing about the occupancy, if you live in unincorporated, you could have as many people living in that residence as long as they had a bedroom or a bed to sleep in. Where you had an occupancy permit, they had to have a bedroom. I mean, you couldn't have, say, you have two girls in the one bedroom. That was okay in I think it's in incorporated neighborhood.
Yes.
There were pros and cons to that.
Right, and we're just talking about the fact of safety and inspection. I know where you're going with this, but I want to stay focused on the safety and inspection part is what we're addressing. In many unincorporated areas, tenants have nobody to report and complain to. And now we're talking about the people, like in the city, that they do have somebody to complain to, but being ignored if the property owner doesn't have an occupancy permit.
Well, the city of St. Louis told me that the Citizens Bureau is who you would complain to put everything on the legal record of anything being any complaints, violations, or any of that. So when I told them that it was being ran as a bed and breakfast and how many occupants were in the building, they said, well, did you call the Citizens Bureau? Well, I wasn't aware to call them to report anything pertaining to this occupancy. And here's a fun fact of what I found out about my landlord, Miss Henrietta Taylor. She had the building listed as a single family dwelling. That's how she's able to keep the lights and gas in her name. A single family dwelling, Section 8. So she was trying to solicit funds, or I am not going to say solicit. Let me retract that statement. I apologize. She was trying to get the place rented out as a single family home, and the building, if you were to take the doors off of certain hinges, you possibly could have gotten that done. But you had 5 families, separate families, in this 2-bedroom. I'm sorry, that's 1 bedroom per floor dwelling. And then you rented the basement out. I thought that was crazy. How did you... wait. Let me backtrack. And that became null and void in April of 2020. So I moved in February. It was only a single family dwelling occupancy. So it wasn't even listed for what she had it for. Then turn around. It expired in April
of 2020.
So she's been getting money for almost, I want to say 8 months from me and the Urban League for this. And now you don't even want any money. Now you want me to leave and all of this. I think that I felt like I told her in the beginning, you just wanted to get paid and then you want to be gone.
How many, when you looked her up online, when we did the homework of the property, how many people have been evicted out of that one property?
Well, when she originally got the occupancy for the single family dwelling, which was in 1993, over the years, she's evicted at least about 20 people from this property. in the court. Yes, on public record, she has evicted, and most of these people were evicted 30 days within each other. 30 days within each other. She would evict one tenant, and then by the time that's on the books and cleared, here it is, she's evicting another person. That's why she wanted to rent it month to month. She didn't want to give you a lease. She refused to sign another lease to get any more funds from another agency. That's why she didn't want any more payment. She wanted to be gone. Oh, and I found out that the property is listed as a part of a bankruptcy claim as well.
So with that being said, let all that sink in. How one property owner who does not have an occupancy permit, and all this can be looked up through court record. We have something here in Missouri called CaseNet. So it lists your name, it lists the property, it lists lawyers, it lists all the information. It's public record. Imagine how many people have records trying to get loans, trying to get housing, trying to get a better credit score from a woman that was running an illegal boarding house that evicted people in mass. Mm-hmm. Calculate that to having maybe one every 5 to 6 blocks doing it.
And illegally pushed out my neighbor.
On Dunn Road.
She illegally pushed out my neighbor. She told him that he had to go because we couldn't even call the police. It was in our lease. In our written lease that we could not call 911. We had to call the non-service number if we had a problem. People tried to steal my barbecue grill off the back porch. People tried to break in, do all sorts of things. We cannot call 911. We have to call the non-service number. This is in our lease. If we do, that she would get involved. I mean, she would get, I forgot what they call that, but a nuisance. You would get a nuisance charge. Due to the fact of all of her previous tenants that she had evicted and the whatever activities that they were doing in this building before I got there, this is the reason you cannot call.
And we have a comment. Miss Sophia Chapman says, I have a home by me that keeps moving people in with no inspection. And Gus, did I hear you say you have a house like that, or you know someone like that?
On Landseer off Dunn Road. My daughter introduced me to this lady for other interest and found out that's what she had going on in her residence. And I wasn't aware of what's going on until this just come out right now, and this was years ago.
There's a house on 3925 Greer in St. Louis that went national. It was one of the first cases. Actually, it was the second case that I did here 4 years ago. And it went national. So a lot of, social organizations, the legal services people, everybody got awards. I mean, everybody piggybacked off of 3925 Greer. You won't read my name. You won't read my association. I was extracted out of it all, but I literally started the entire thing. Even my pictures were used on the news, but they extracted my information. That house has people living in it. It got shut down for a small period of time, and then it opened right back up and put tenants right back in it, knowing that there was no occupancy permit, knowing there was mold growing in it, knowing that the property owner put boards and locks and chains on the doors of the tenants there in 2017. So in that situation of 3925 Greer, imagine you living in a house, a substandard house, and the landlord puts locks and chains on your door. Can you imagine the anger that went on at 3925 Greer? So these are the things that people... Imagine. Sorry, go ahead.
I can imagine.
So when we talk about anger, when we talk about violence in the inner cities, I'm bringing this point up because violence is nothing more than anger physically acted out. I'm going to repeat. Violence is no more than anger physically acted out.
And with eviction, yes, that does cause it.
Yes, as Marion said, with evictions, of course, it's going to be anger. So now we're facing, and unless they extend the moratorium, we're going to have evictions coming up April 1st, April 2nd. They're going to happen.
No, you're going to have the sheriffs enforcing the evictions because listen, let me explain something to you guys. They've had months of backlogs, okay? They've had months of people going to court on Zoom and all of that. These people are sitting here waiting to their day to get evicted from the premises. The sheriffs can legally evict them after April 1st. They stopped them until April 1st. So, yeah, you're going to have them, bam, 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 time to go. You're going to have a lot of people sitting there on their pins and needles and like, hey, I know I got to find somewhere, I got to do this by this day, because they know that day is coming. That day is less than 10 days.
And they can't move because that stimulus check.
The stimulus check is pointless. It's pointless.
Your credit.
You cannot even be heard of. You can have money in your hand right now and say, hey, I got the money. I got enough to pay 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 months. But if your credit ain't together, or you don't make 2 and 3 times the rent, or if you don't even sit up there, and you basically small. You're like an ant to a giant that want to step on you and smash you. You can have $1 million in your pocket, but if you ain't got these evictions off your name, or if you ain't got these judgments off your name, if your credit ain't looking right, you gonna be as small as that ant that they trying to step on.
And that takes me back to Perch credit. That's how many people feel. They got all these judgments on their records, and they may have money, but because it's on their credit report, there's a court judgment showing on somebody's system, they can't qualify. The idea of this, and I hope I'm getting somewhere, is bringing these to the forefront of people that deserve an avenue of relief. If us as tenants were willing to, what can we do? Let me ask it better. What can we do, or how can we do something to get to the credit bureaus and say, hey, get our names off of this? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, and sorry, they're cutting the grass outside, if you can hear that, but it's a multifaceted issue. I think at core, removing this type of report off of a credit report is something that us at Perch could start looking into today, and given our relationship with the bureaus, find an answer on what is the quickest and fairest way to allow someone to say, hey, I was treated wrong here, fix my credit, and remove this off of my profile. And that's something that honestly would be easier for us to explore now more than ever. And then secondly, it's like people who are in these situations, who are in these housing complexes, or like places where they don't have the best living experiences, because not only do they have a bad landlord, but the landlord is illegally renting out a property. How do you find them fair housing, like true housing? And that's really a community issue more than anything, which is something also Perch is exploring. It's like, if keeping you from even getting to the point where it's hitting your credit report is simply paying that unfair rent that the landlord is charging, how can we just help you get through that hump so that you never get into the spiral to begin with? Or, even helping people find new opportunities, find new places to live, where they're not being treated the way that they are. I think there's a lot of ways to look at it. I think we're definitely exploring what we can do from a high level with the bureaus and trickle down into like, how can we make this experience a little bit more to a case by case basis. But I don't know, me and Miriam are actually messaging back and forth thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out ways.
That is awesome, and I appreciate that. And I just want to put in here, and Marion, I'm going to let you jump in on the microphone. Give me 1 second. Let me get my train of thought out. So we've also heard how many organizations, or at least one, have been paying these slumlords. What if all that money, all them tax dollars, all that grant money had to be returned, and that money was utilized? So first of all, hold on, I'm sorry. So the first step is because of the rent that they paid for the house. So we know we can send it in to Perch, you can get credit for that. But here's this. If the property was condemned, and this worked in Rolla, the property is condemned, that means that property value isn't really that high. So for example, if you paid $800 a month times 12, that's $9,600 that you just paid for a condemned building. Mm-hmm. You multiply by 2, that's $1,900 2, you've paid well more and many times what the house was even worth just by paying rent. So the money, if we can get it extracted back for all the properties that didn't have an occupancy permit, and we're talking millions, that money now could be set to the side for a heater, a furnace, problems, whatever problems they have with the house. So the idea is let's take the property from the slumlord by filing a lien against the property. Number 2, let's exercise the fact of rent payments being utilized as equity into the property. And number 3, any grant money, any rent assistance, whatever, paid needs to be returned and put in an account for the tenant to now be the homeowner and utilize wisely instead of wastefully.
I agree.
If that 3-step process was put into place, y'all would be almost cured. And you wouldn't have to keep running to all these organizations anymore because now you're a homeowner. Now we can get your house weatherized.
Yep.